This video is brought to you by Wargamers, Shut Up and Jam, Gaiden, an awesome wargaming channel on YouTube which posts new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So go check them out. I know you'll love them. Wargamers, Shut Up and Jam, Gaiden. Today on Q&J, what's your favorite holiday movie? Mine's Scrooged.
Q and J.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Q&J. I told you I'll be doing it every other week, and that's true. So welcome back. Awesome stuff. Let's answer some questions. But before I begin, as I mentioned before the video began, today's video is brought to you by Wargamers, Shut Up and Jam, Gaiden. A really cool new YouTube channel focusing primarily on War Machine. So if you're interested in War Machine, if you're thinking of considering the future, or even if you're experiencing it, go check them out. They post 3 new videos every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and they do a lot of unboxings. They probably, in my opinion, one of the best coverages of the all-in-one army sets that Privateer Press has released. They do some Tactica, and they focus from a beginner's perspective, which is really cool. And they've just started doing battle reports. So go ahead and check them out. Link in the description below. Just go ahead and check it out. I don't think you'll regret it. Let's go. I love highlighting other YouTube channels, so they're a great one. Go check them out, especially if you love Privateer Press products and War Machine or Hordes. But let's get to this week's Q&J questions. There weren't a lot because there's only been a couple of weeks ago, but I promise you people I'm going to get back into it and answer some questions today, and we're going to have a fun time. You know what? There's about 20 questions or so let's go ahead and start asking them. Or answering them, as most people would say. So the first one is by Matthew Herring / Clever Average. It says, Jay, don't fear the swarm. The Emperor protects, just a bunch of bugs to step on. Wise words. Wise words. Matthew, referring to the fact that theoretically, if in the future, or in at least the series of books, if the Tyranids end up touching your planet, you're pretty doomed. So, good stuff. Next one, Sergeant Stone Tooth Harker. I like the fact that people have now added nicknames into their names since this last video. He's now Stone Tooth Harker. It says, am I the only one who finds it funny how everyone who seems to play non-GW games are the only ones who complain so much about GW? Yes, because typically, that is true, because those who play GW games, they like it. We play Games Workshop games because we like Games Workshop games, and typically it's those who have had enough who leave it, and leave it for other games, and then they're the ones who are usually the most vocal. That's what I find as well. I'm not a GW hater by any means, and I understand why people have some frustrations with GW and their games. You know what, depending on what type of gamer you are and what you appreciate in business skills, it may not be for you. That's okay. I love GW. I love Privateer Press games. You know, I'm huge into War Machine, and I like playing Hordes. I've played a lot of X-Wing in the past, and one day I might play Infinity, Malifaux, other games, you know? So, it's been cool stuff. Yeah. I have several people at my friendly local gaming store who play X-Wing. Cool. And go out of their way to complain about 40k and GW. Go away from the tables they are playing at, over to mine to complain. I'm considering about having a Spitzer bottle of water with me to keep them away. Yeah, that's unfortunate, because people these days really do like to give their opinions on things, especially Games Workshop, and it's weird when they're complaining to someone who obviously plays the game. I always find that interesting. I was at Adepticon last year, and I'm not mentioning who, but another YouTuber tried to kind of include me in a conversation, which was obviously a GW bashing conversation, and I just didn't have much to do with it, because I love, I'm a huge Warhammer 40k player. So, and that's the thing. Most of my viewers are 40k players, but I do have some Privateer Press players as well. So, yeah, but interesting. Also, do you know what the deal is with mini wargaming? They don't seem to be making much content anymore, but I stopped watching them, mostly after Ash left. When Owen leaves, I don't think there will be a reason to watch them ever. Owen's gone. Are you mistaking for Steve or Leland? Because Owen left years ago. Owen left about 2 years ago this month from mini wargaming. I left the following April, and then Steve left no, sorry, Ash left about, I don't know, 6 months ago, and then Leland recently left. The reason for leavings, I don't know. That's the thing. We all leave for different reasons. That's the thing. There's not a common thread between us, or there might be. I just don't know. But I didn't leave for the same reasons Owen left. I didn't leave for the same reason Ash left. I moved. That's why I left. Yes, they haven't been putting out as much content as they usually are. They're kind of transitioning their content. The reason is Mini Wargaming has decided, and it's their idea. It may work out. But I know that for their battle reports, for example, they've decided to go larger points and more epic battles than quantity. So that's why there are less battle reports. And the fact that they just lost another producer means less battle reports can be filmed. But yeah, so you've had conversations with famous people before on accident too. Yes, I have. If you consider Black Library authors famous, I once had a conversation with Curt Schilling. Cool! Former Boston Red Sox pitcher, once without realizing. Awesome! I know Curt Schilling, definitely. He was a good pitcher. Cool, very cool stuff. Yeah, it was just fun. I was talking to it's fun meeting people, Curt Schilling, that'd be cool. I didn't really talk to him, but I met Ty Domi. I said a couple words to him. I met a lot of Leafs players, because Leafs players used to live around where I used to live when I was growing up. So Ty Domi used to live near there. Wendell Clark, Doug Gilmour, arguably, the last goaltender to ever win the Stanley Cup with the Maple Leafs, Johnny Bower. So it was cool stuff. Dark Danigan says, "Hi Jay, do you have any tips for keeping paints in good condition?" Yes. Number 1, keep them at room temperature. Not too hot, not too cold. I always make the mistake of, I call them boiling my paints. But if you keep them in hot areas or cold areas, you're going to lose your paint. So at room temperature, and as less moisture as possible. That's what I find. Right? Good paints. Unfortunately, these days, GW paints don't last as long. I do find that, as opposed to the old ones. I still have old paints like Mithril Silver, and it's still good today as it was, the day I bought it. I'm having trouble with paint specifically after only a few months and not remixing easily. The worst are Vallejo Air Metallics, which are now unusable. I do find that, unfortunately, with some of my Vallejo Airs, is that they dry out really quickly. The medium tends to dissipate. Or Even the ones that remix don't go through an airbrush anymore, even when thinned. I hear of stories of people using paints that are decades old, so it must be something I'm doing wrong. Any advice? Yes. In this week's Q&J, Dark Danigan, could you elaborate on the conditions? Where are you? Do you live in a really hot area, for example? Easiest thing is keep in room temperature. Keep them out of sunlight, right? Little things that you can do. Basically, anything that you can do to unintentionally, or to prevent the unintentional baking of your paints. Because that's essentially what happens a lot of the time with these paints, is that they dry out, right? As you mentioned. And it has to do, again, the temperature of the room. Do they get hit by direct sunlight frequently? Especially in the summertime, what you find is if they get hit by the sun, they warm up considerably, especially the darker ones, obviously, and they'll bake out. Besides that, use a palette. Because the longer your paints are open, the more exposed to air they are, right? So if you use a palette, it's a very simple way. Now, obviously, this will help your paints not dry out as quickly, but you won't see as dramatic of effects as, for example, keeping them under your desk or away from your heater. But I definitely recommend using a palette as well. I do find that this one, and again, once again, for the airbrush paints, unfortunately, it won't work for that because you don't use a palette for that. But using a palette will really help extend your paint lives, because all you do is you put it directly on your palette, close, especially a wet palette, close your paint. It is no longer exposed to the air or anything. Put it away. So definitely feel free to elaborate, and then maybe it is something that you're doing, and we can easily, work to remedy it, me and the other people in these comments. As for the Vallejo Airs, I find, it's just how you store them typically. Also, depends on where you buy them. I find that the one problem that you could be having, and I'm not pointing fingers directly, but there's a few gaming stores in the relative area that I have purchased paints from, and they don't properly store them. Like, they're dusty, they're old, and even when you buy them, they seem like they're almost harder than normal paints. So if you go to a hobby store that has significantly older paints and you purchase them, you'll find out that they'll dry out quicker because they're relatively older. You know, it makes sense. Versus a store which frequently sells their paints out frequently, they'll be always getting new shipments of paints and they'll always be freshest. The Warpsmith. Hello, Warpsmith. Says, "Sup, Jay? Not much, you? Long time no comment. Anyways, I was wondering about some particular paint methods that I have been using, but not truly succeeding with. Namely, I want my Word Bearer Chaos Marines to be dark metallic red, rather than the commonly used dark gore red." Yeah, I guess it would now be, not gore red, it would be Mephiston red. Oh, no, it could be gore red. Yeah, sorry. My current method is painting them silver and then coating them with thin layers of the dark red shade. Caribou Crimson, I think it's the name. True? You could use Bloodletter, but Bloodletter, it tends to be more mid-tone, as opposed to you, which we're going to go dark tone. Worth a shot, though. You do 2 coats of Bloodletter glaze and see. It doesn't look bad, but the issue is that the metallic aspect doesn't come in through enough. I could really do with some assistance on this, if you would be so kind. My Demon Forges await the next project. Many thanks ahead of time. Alright, so what I would do is I would mix up I wouldn't use all GW products. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think the GW products would cover all what you want to do in this case. I think you'd have to go get some mediums or a different line of paint. Some companies like Reaper make a really dark metallic red, and it actually looks really nice. I've used their blues, and I've seen the reds on models. If you switch it to that, you might actually have better success because they're dark red and the pigments tend to shine. The other option is you could get some what's called metallic pigments or metallic medium. Metallic medium would be good for this case. Metallic medium. And what it's essentially doing is it's just medium that is filled with metallic pigments, right? Most hobby stores will sell it, and I don't know if you're a member of the Vault for Mini Wargaming, but Chris uses it frequently. You could use that, and essentially by mixing that with a very dark color, you will get a very dark red metallic. And that's the key, because the problem is when you glaze over it using shades have a naturally dull finish. And so if you take a normal model and you paint, if you paint iron or lead belcher over a model, right, nice and shiny, hit it with a non-oil shade or Agaric's Earth shade, it's dull because they all have a matte finish, right? And then you have to bring back the shade, and that's the biggest problem you're gonna have if you are trying red gore or if you're doing metallics and then doing red shading over it. So I would recommend possibly changing up companies. Other ways are you could mix your own paints using metallics from Games Workshop. You may not have as good of a success. I'd recommend trying to get some metallic medium or metallic pigments, and you can add those to whatever color you want, and it will pretty much create it will lighten it a little bit. So you have to add a little bit of darker colors in as well. So I would go maybe like a little bit of black, your red gore color, and then some metallic medium, and then you will get a really nice metallic pigment, and it should come through for what you want. Another option which you could try is a glaze medium. I don't think it will have the exact result you will want, but it will add a layer of shininess. So if you add a glaze medium to your reds, that could be another way of possibly getting the same effect of what you want. But I hope this is enough information. So I definitely recommend it. Metallic mediums or glaze mediums. I recommend metallic over glaze, because if you really want that strong metallic pigment hit on your model, where you can clearly see the shine, I'd recommend that. Or you could check out companies like Reaper, where I know they have a red. I don't know if it's the perfect red you're looking for, but you may be able to mix that red with another color, such as a black, to darken it significantly. You could take like a black metal and a red metal, create those, and then you might get the metallic red you seek. Yeah. Master Dwaylen says, "Hi Jay, love the beard. Thank you. I'm glad people like it. I'm going to keep it for a while. I don't know how long I'm going to have it, just to keep my face warm, you know? Yeah, that's about it. You know, I just like to do that and grow a beard. It's all good. Do you have any plans to make some reunion battle reports with MWG staff in the future?" Totally. Not specific plans. Like, not like I've set a date that I'm going to go down and play them. But would I go back down and play them? Definitely. I would love to play against Dave again. Have some fun. Play some battle reports, have a great time. Most likely next time that my group of gamers come down from wherever they are, you know, various ways, like Cody Rue, Mike, Brent, Hugh, because only Hugh can prevent Flores Friars. And next time they go down to Mini Wargaming, I'll probably try to join them again, like I did when I played against Leland for actually his very first battle report. I would love to do that, for sure. Also, a fun fact, do you know that Dave from Mini Wargaming says, "Hi Jay," when he rolls double ones in 2d6? It's very funny. It was nice to see Dave in a Crazy Eyes t-shirt in one battle report, too. Yes. Thanks for the answer. Happy painting. Thank you very much. No problem. Yeah, the reason is, actually, I'm going to eventually have my own dice created. Probably in January is my goal. I've just contacted ChessX, and I've gotten some quotes, and I think I know what I want to do. And the reason is, I'm going to have some dice created in the near future that, when they're on the ones, the crazy eyes symbol is on the one, so when you roll snake eyes, it'll actually be crazy eyes. So, yes, but it's fun. You know, Dave and I keep in contact every now and then. He's been pretty busy lately, so it's all cool stuff. He's been doing a lot of stuff with his Rangers stuff, his movie stuff. So, Christopher Tucker says, "How can you make a Blood Angel army at 1850 work in a competitive group? The meta is always bring the most newest thing, is the new Tau, Space Marines, and Eldar units." Yee. Blood Angels are tough. Blood Angels are tough. Let me think. Mephiston's still pretty nasty. I'm a huge fan of Death Company. Death Company are a solid choice still. You can still bring... There's still a couple of formations I remember that were pretty strong, but it's hard. It's very hard because, unfortunately, Dark Angels are pre-Space Marines Codex, so a lot of the rules just aren't as good for them. And the new Space Marines are significantly better, I find, than Dark Angels. But they do have some stuff. You could bring a couple, formations they have that are really strong. Death Company are still really strong. Bring fast vehicles. That's another way. Fast Vindicators are pretty nasty. Now, they're not as strong as the triple Vindicator spam, but fast Vindicators, fast Preds are still pretty strong. So that's what I kind of recommend. I should make a list. I should try to make an 1850 list sometime, maybe for a video, like the Let's Make a List. But yeah, I'll see if I can make a video in that in the near future to more address that. But it's really hard because Tau, Eldar, new Space Marines, Necrons are all going to be significantly stronger against Blood Angels. Death Company are, I think, where the Codex still really shines, though. House of Geek says, "Hey Jay, glad to see you're back with Q&J. Thank you very much, House of Geek. I asked you a while back about getting subs for my channel. I'm now up around 60. Excellent. So people go check out House of Geek. My question is for you. How do you feel about battle reports that concentrate on the narrative? I really try to build that in my reports with cinematic shots and dialogue." That's totally cool. If that's your style, go with it. Nothing wrong at all. Like, I know that Striking Scorpion has those narratives at the very beginning, and the campaigns for Mini Wargaming have been very successful as well. So nothing wrong with that. I just tend to play more friendly games where it's me with the camera and, not much of a narrative. But that's definitely cool. Very cool stuff, House of Geek, and I'm happy that, you know what, I'm going to even jump on, I'm going to subscribe to you right now. Let's subscribe to House of Geek. Subscribe. Look at that, he's now at 72. That is a 20% increase since your video. Good stuff. Excellent. I'm in. Michael Backer says, "Hey Jay, how are you? I'm good. How about you, Michael Backer? I look forward to possibly facing Michael Backer at Adepticon this year. I was wondering, with an auxiliary formation in the Space Marines Codex Blue Book, do you think are worthwhile and usable in a list under 2,000? I wouldn't really think so. I don't know. And how would you run that auxiliary formation in a Gladius Strike Force? I've been trying to write some lists using a Gladius Strike Force at 1850. Most auxiliary formations have a high minimum requirement to field, and the ones that don't, like the Scout formation, have very underwhelming benefits." To me, the strength of the formations is in the Gladius Strike Force. But it's really hard under 2,000, I agree. Because the problem is you have to take so many minimum points, right? Like a demi company alone takes up 500 to 700 points, you know? And then you have to take 3 squads of scouts, minimum, to make it legal, to make the list legal. It's hard. It's really hard. I've been finding that. I've been finding it harder. Obviously, certain formations, like the strongest one to me would be the triple Vindicator list formation, or there's the triple Predator formation. Like, the benefits. And then obviously I take the Terminators, but it's hard. It's really hard to. I do run the list, the formation. I do run them in a 1,500 point game, but I do find it extremely constricting, because again, that demi company alone takes up so many points. About half the points of my list is demi company, and then you got to put something else. That's the thing. Very good point. I'm definitely gonna think. I should make some more like how to let's build a list things, but I do find it interesting. Let me go. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab my books and we'll talk about these. All right, so I'm back, and I brought my Space Marine and my Blood Angel books with me. So let's go through the first question. Let's give Christopher Tucker some credit on. Let's go through the codex. Now, I'm not going to create an 1850 list, but I just want to go through the codex and refresh myself and discuss what are viable options in the new codex. So Blood Angel's codex versus new stuff. I'm a fan of Mephiston for an HQ. He's a solid HQ. He's pretty fun, and he kills a lot of stuff. He's pretty nasty. You can go Brother Corbulo if you want. Attach him to a squad, or Sanguinary Priest, but I like Brother Corbulo. You attach him because he gives you a bunch of tactical flexibility. You can use his reroll to seize the initiative. That's pretty cool stuff. As far as troops goes, you pretty much have the choice of tactical marines or a scout squad. So depending on whichever one you want to do. If you go scout squad, I think scout squad with camo cloaks, because they just hide in cover, so keep them on objectives, and try to keep them alive. Otherwise, you go tactical marines with a bunch of stuff. You can give them, Maltas, put them in rhinos or razorbacks, drop pods, depending on what you want to give them. As far as elites go, Death Company. Bar none. They are my favorite, other than maybe the Death Company Dreadnought. He's a lot of fun to use. I don't know about your meta, about how he'd survive, or the Furioso Dreadnought. But as far as that goes, as far as competitiveness, I would go Death Company, large squads with jump packs, because they're nasty. You can have up to 15 in a squad with jump packs. They hit really hard. Load them up with hammers and scary stuff. Because they're fun. You may want to give them Lamarties. Up to you. Good, it's an option. Death Company Dreadnought or a Furioso Dreadnought. I would stay away from Terminators, because if your meta is new Space Marines, if your meta is Eldar, Necrons, or Tau, your Terminators are toast. Unfortunately, they're going to die. You could go Vanguard or Stern Guard, depending on, again, it depends on your meta. You could drop some Stern Guard in, or drop some Stern Guard in a drop pod, and just, wipe out squads at a time. Could work. For fast attacks, the Blood Angels, yeah. The problem is, for fast attacks, the Blood Angels really don't have anything that shines, in my opinion, because you could take a Rhino or a Razorback or a Drop Pod. A Land Speeder Squadron, again, is a solid choice, but it's no better than a Land Speeder Squadron from the Vanilla Marines Codex. An Assault Squad, if you want to take some fluffiness, go for it. Bikes, same thing, but the problem with the bikes is that the bikes are in most ways completely inferior to White Scars or Ravenwing. And then for heavy, Storm Raven is a solid choice. Devastator Squad is a solid choice, depending on what you want to run. Then you could do the Ball Pred. Give it the better, it has the overcharged engines, or you just take a normal Predator and give it the overcharged engines. I think I might like that suggestion even more, because you get an autocannon, but you can take I'd take the twin-linked las cannon for an extra 25 points on a Predator, and give them the overcharged engines, and then give the side sponsons las cannons. Because then you have a fast-moving, front armor 13 vehicle with 3 las cannons, one twin-linked, firing at ballistic skill 4. That's a solid choice. Vindicators are awesome. Once again, they're no better than Vanilla Marines Vindicators, but that's about it. That's where the Codex really shines. And then for Lords of War, Dante, he's a pretty solid choice. Seth, not as much against most of the meta. And then there's, of course, the Battle Company. But for the Battle Company, you have to take, a captain, a chaplain, a command squad, 6 tactical squads, 2 assault squads, 2 devastator squads, Death Company, Dreadnought, Furioso. Extremely fluffy, really hard to run at 1850 with very minimal upgrades. You'll be really, but you do get some. For example, they keep objectives secured. That is nice, and that will help you win against armies like Eldar, against Necrons, against Tau, that will not have objectives secured, right? Space Marines probably will. And then you get the Red Thirst, of course, in Angel's Virtue. So, not bad. That's really what I think about the Blood Angels. Unfortunately, they're not as strong as Vanillas, but they do have some options. Then we'll go to the Vanilla Codex for Michael Backer. And Michael was asking about the auxiliary formations. So let's go through them quickly and just discuss briefly about them. So we have the Armored Task Force. Now let's just go through the formations, and I'll just go grab the book. Here we go. So we have the Anti-Air Defense Force. Now I don't really see this as used very often because it's the Hunters and Stalkers. I really don't see this as going to be used in that meta unless you're up against a flying monstrous creature list of doom. I really don't see that as being used. The First Company Strike Force, I use the most, but only because of the models I have that they gain Fearless and Fear. And the Preferred Enemy. I always forget about the Preferred Enemy. But they have Preferred Enemy. Again, it's fun if you want to run like 3 Stern Guards or Vanguards. You call Preferred Enemy on the scariest thing and just have fun against them. It could help, but again, I don't. Strike Force Ultra. Strike Force Ultra has a couple fun things, but once again, I don't. To me, the Vanilla Marines book, you could get away with a combined arms attachment if you want to have some fun with it. I don't know. The 10th Company Task Force, it's actually pretty cool. I like the 10th Company Task Force, but again, you have to take 3 squads of scouts. But if you take them, the fact that they have concealed until they've moved, run, or turbo boost is actually kind of cool and will help keep them alive. Helps keep them alive, especially if you're camping your scouts on objectives. The Reclusium Command Squad, cool. I'm not the biggest fan of using a chaplain. I do use them for fun, but, And they have precision shots for the 10th Company Strike Force. The Stormwing could actually be pretty competitive. The Stormwing detachment, out of all the auxiliaries, is probably one of the strongest. Because it has a Storm Talon, 2 Storm Talons and a Storm Raven. That's pretty strong formation. And you get as long as at least 1 Storm Talon from this formation has been completely destroyed, has not been completely destroyed. The Storm Raven's gunship has a strafing run special rule. That's great. Helps you kill things on the ground. And when making reserve rolls, just a single reserve roll for all of them. Helps them bring on all your flyers at the same time, which helps keep them alive. You bring them on piecemeal, it could be destroyed. There's Centurion Siegebreaker cohort. I'm not the biggest fan of that one because I'm a bigger fan of the Devastator Centurions as opposed to the Assault Centurions. To be fair, the lands, and I do like the Land Raider Spearhead. But again, it's really expensive. It's like 750 points by itself, so I don't see it used. I brought in a couple battle reports for fun, but I don't really see it being used in a competitive way at all until you cross 2,000 points. Liberius Conclave, that is a hilarious. I know that's auxiliary. Is that auxiliary? Auxiliary? Auxiliary. I'm not good with my pronunciation today. No, that was a fun one. The Armored Task Force, I think, is... Actually, I think that's probably one of the strongest. It's the strongest, I think, in my opinion. Because you could take, 3 of any of the vehicles and you're going to get away with it. But this formation, at least, you get vehicles from this formation, ignore the effects of crew shake and crew stun results, while they were within 6 inches of Tech Marine or Tech Marine Gunner from this formation. That's huge. Because, especially if you're taking the Vindicator list, you want them to ignore the effects of crew shake and crew stunned. Because otherwise you can't fire that third Vindicator if you want to do the triple Vindicator shot. And they also have the Tech Marine and the Gunners from this formation have a plus and bonus when doing Blessings of the Omnissiah rolls to repair vehicles from this formation. And all you really have to do is add a Tech Marine on top of your triple whatever, right? Oh, whoops. You need to take 3 to 5 units chosen in any combination. Vindicators, Predators, and Whirlwinds. So you have to take 3 Vindicators and then 2 little Whirlwinds separately. But it's still a pretty strong list. It is. That's pretty strong. Grab me if I'm wrong. Suppression Force, unit of Whirlwinds and Speeders. Again, it's fun. It has the data link telemetry. 1 land speeder from this formation can nominate an enemy unit within 18 inches. Until the end of all shooting attacks made by the Whirlwind have rerolled a hit. Cool. That's it. So as I said, some of them are fun, but I really don't see them being taken by many competitive lists. Some within 2,000. As I said, there's a few good ones in there. So I hope that answers your question, Michael Becker. Andrew Maronis says, "Hey Jay, been following you since mini Wargaming and had a question for you. I'm fairly new to Warhammer and a student. Don't have that much time to play games consistently. Is there any way to learn tactics for an army to play them better other than just playing lots of games?" Yes, completely. Videos these days. A lot of YouTubers do Tactica series and watch battle reports. For sure. Easy, simple ways of learning Tactica. And also, there's tons of forums out there. Daka. Just type in forums for Tactica for your specific army and you'll find them. There's tons of tactics out there without playing tons of games. Battle reports and Tactica series as well by YouTubers. I play Tau, and so far my models I own have been holding me back, but now I'm almost at 2,000 points, which is good. That's a good amount of points. With a good variety of options. Thanks. Love your battle reports and keep them up. Cheers. Thank you very much, Andrew Maronis. So as I said, battle reports, Tau series, specifically Tau. Mini Wargaming has a bit of Tau, and they've done a good review. You watch the codex reviews. The codex reviews are a great way to learn Tactica because people discuss the tactics behind them. What combinations would be really strong and against what. Battle reports, because you get to see what works well and what to not to do. Tactica videos, obviously. But yeah, there's tons of information out there for new people, for new people to armies. Black Tom, how's it going, man? I was talking about Black Tom the other day. Hey Jay, this is a kind of fluff thing, but with the fluff that orcs are fungus-based creatures, yes, and their tech know-how is encoded genetically into their genes. If they were attacked and eaten by Nids, wouldn't the Nids then have access to the Orky tech capabilities? I'd argue yes. Makes you wonder how much GW thinks this stuff through, eh? Yeah. Well, there was a lot of debate about this. The same thing kind of happened when the Nids. Matt has a Nurgle Nid army, and a lot of debate would be how could the Nids absorb the Nurgleness, right? But I'd argue yes, because genetically, if they can alter their genetics to absorb what they've eaten or consumed, and if orcs have and I agree, orcs, they have to know about their technology because they have spores, right? They're fungus based, so they just grow and they're like, hey, I'm an orc, I know stuff, so Good question, Black Tom. Something that I would never think about. Daniel Jefferson says, thanks, Jay, for the response to my question. My question's for you. If you had to choose between a faction for Horse Heresy, which one would you choose? I'm in a debate to do either Night Lords or Death Guards, but I'm really stuck. I like, for Traitor Legions, Night Lords and Alpha Legion. I really like them. Night Lords are cool, but Death Guards are cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with really anything you choose. And that's the best thing about 30K and 40K, well, especially 30K. Sorry, just got to make sure. The thing is, yeah, I prefer Night Lord's color scheme because the Death Guards are more like the Nurgly dudes. You know, they're almost, they're the, like, Mortarion would be the leader, right, of the Death Guard. But I prefer Night Lords. Why did that just change? It's okay. I'm just typing something to my computer. I'm trying to multitask. Personally, Night Lords are really cool. I like they're like, the more baddie themed, and I'm a huge fan of Conrad Kurz. So personally, I like Night Lords, but it's up to you. Mortarion's really cool too. He's the Plague Marine guy, so that's cool stuff. I like Alpha Legion as well. Alpha Legion to me is probably my favorite. If I had to choose a traitor one, if I go 30K, I'm probably gonna go Traitor Legion because to me the Traitor Legions are really cool, and yeah. I really like Alpha Legion. But that's cool. So I hope that answers your question. I want an army to challenge me on painting and theme. Oh, you want an army to challenge you on painting and theme? You could go Death Guard. Death Guard are, I'd say, out of the two of them, probably more challenging. Death Guard versus Night Lords. Because Death Guards, it's really hard to get that Nurgly appearance well. It's kind of easier to learn, harder to master, to get truly an intentionally dirty appearance without going overkill. It can be quite the challenge. But again, Night Lords are a lot of fun. And I think you'll have a great time with either of them. Both of them could be challenging because the thing is, Night Lords are primarily dark blue. Yeah, they're dark. They're like midnight blue, right? But they have the lightning. If you want to master like the lightning patterns on their legs and on their shoulder pads, that is a huge challenge, right? Versus the Death Guard, which the challenge is just to get that Nurgly, rotting appearance done well. Could also be a challenge. I hope that answers your question. Unfortunately, there's no real answer because you could choose any legion, and arguably blues are easier for most times, but the patterns, like the lightning patterns, could be a bit of a challenge for you. A lot of freehand stuff. Death Guards, gotta Mortarion, some Nurgly rotting stuff. Andrew McCormick says, "Hi Jay." Hi, Andrew McCormick. Could you please do a codex review for the Eldar Corsairs? I really should do one. Yes. I think you may like it. I really should. It's on my list. I definitely think I should. Question time. I recently played a game against New Tau. It was my friend's list, and he asked me to bring the cheesiest list I could. I took multiple Wraith Knights. Good. Hornets. Oh, so you brought in Forge World. Fire Prisms, and a few Death Jesters to try and destroy his Pathfinders by taking them out off the board. It was, of course, a disaster, and I conceded turn 2. Wow. It's kind of like that battle report recently filmed, that mini Wargaming with Eldar versus Tau, and Tau blew him off the board. Wow, turn 2. You brought Hornets. I was about to say, with Eldar, Hornets, Wasps, and multiple Wraith Knights. My friend then played a game against Grey Knights and Nurgle Marines to do the same result. My question is, what can possibly handle this level of firepower? Hordes won't work. MSU won't really work, as Tau will just keep moving back. Drop Marines don't work, as Tau can give any Skyfire Interceptor any ideas. Instead, my friend then went to a tournament, and the majority of the players were Tau, and Storm Surge seemed exceptionally dirty. Okay, Tau are incredibly strong. there's certain armies you have to... The problem is, most of the time against Tau, you have to go first. You can't let them go first. You have to get whatever you need to do first. Get first blood, kill the Pathfinders. You gotta kill the Pathfinders. You don't want any marker lights against you. Marker lights are insane against you. So here are the options. White Scars could do it. Same with Ravenwing. But you have to go first. And lots of squads, minimum sizes, almost equal in killability and killingness. Because the key is against Tau is you don't want to bring Death Stars. Especially with a Ravenwing squad or a White Scar squad. Your opponent, Tau are the best army in the game for killing Death Stars, bar none. Because their entire army could just focus on a Death Star and blow it out of the water at a very high ballistic skill, ignoring cover, with tons of shenanigans. I've seen people play against Tau with Space Marines. Now here's a list. Triple Vindicator can do it, and can do it very well. Because, again, you have to go first. You have to be able to go first, and you have to get them in position, and then you drop Pie Plates of Doom on their faces. That's it. Because you drop an Apocalyptic Blast, Strength 10, AP 1 ignores cover. Anything that's Toughness 5 or less just goes off the board. And that's what you got to do. You take out a chunk of their army per turn. And unfortunately, you got to bring Triple Vindicator to face them. That's really, unfortunately, a level of cheese. What other things? I've seen a couple lists where Psyker shenanigans can be pretty strong against them. Because they have really nothing to buff against Psychers. So if you can get a bunch of Psychic powers off at a time, it might help keep alive like a bunch of guys running around with invisibility. That could be strong against Tau because they'll have to. The key is you want to get them to forfeit their marker lights as much as possible on squads, right? But not squads that matter. So if you take a lot of min squads of, let's say, Ravenwing, White Scars, they can only marker light, arguably, one squad for every squad of marker lights. That's it. So if you have, usually most competitive lists of Tau right now are having 3. So that means they can marker light and remove cover from 3 squads at a time. But the other ones are still alive, and then you use as much firepower to kill the Pathfinder's first turn. Drop a Triple Vindicator blast on their head. Let's keep blasts. Or like Space Marines have access to Thunderfire cannons. Thunderfire cannons can actually take out Tau really easily. They can kill Pathfinders quite easily because they can ignore the cover that the tower that they're in and have a great range. They can actually outrange the Tau. So Thunderfire cannons are significantly strong against Tau. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really, really hard because Tau have access to Gargantuans now. So that's just some thoughts. There are things that can kill them, but you basically have to list Taylor. And that's the downside. I don't really list Taylor, but you have to list Taylor against Tau. And you have to have things that you have to go first. It's a key. Never let the Tau player go first. And you have to be able to take out marker lights turn 1. So have things that ignore cover. Triple Vindicator. Thunderfire Cannon. Eldar have access to some. Necrons have access to some. And just try to survive. Make an objective. Hopefully, if it's an objectives game like Maelstrom of War, Tau are not as maneuverable as most other armies, so it could help you there. But grab an early lead and try to survive is usually what I recommend. Tau are strong. Jesper Larson says, "Hey Jay, I am dyslexic and can highly recommend BL audiobooks. Black Library, yes. In fact, my homie." I've actually recommended by a couple people. They've really recommended. My homie Joshua, when I was chilling with him I always say homie. I always like saying that. My homie Joshua, when I was in Gen Con, he actually let me listen to one of the Black Library audiobooks, and they're quite nice. I agree, because they actually really get thematic. There's like gunshots in the background. The British actors really make it sound epic. It's really cool stuff. If I do not have you in my ears, I have one of them. Excellent. What do you do to protect your minis? Varnish. I have a lot of metal models. So I'm going to dip them and end the job with an anti-shine. Good. But how would you protect a metal, plastic, or resin model, and why? By varnish. the only things you can do with models is A, clean them properly. Especially with metal and resin. Clean them properly. Because if you clean them properly, some of these models have release agents still on them from the molding process. And the release agents also prevent paint from sticking on them. So if you clean them properly, soak them in some soapy water overnight or for a few hours, and then wash them off entirely, make sure the soap residue is completely off, and then paint them, that is a huge step that will allow the paint to completely adhere to your models. And that will be awesome. Frequently varnish. If you've seen any of my painting tutorials, I varnish a miniature typically 2 to 3 times during the painting process. After most major steps are done, I hit it with a varnish, a satin varnish usually. Because the more you varnish a miniature, the more protective coats you have to protect it. Simple ways like that. Don't handle it while painting a lot. The more you handle them, the more you touch them with your fingers, the oil from your fingers will get on the miniature and once again prevent paint from sticking properly. That's just little things like that, especially early on. So don't handle the miniature a lot with your greasy fingers if you have grease, you know what I mean. I'm not insulting or anything. Don't handle the miniatures between when they're washed that much and when they're primed. Obviously you have to glue things to them, makes sense. But the more you touch them, the more residue from your fingers and less stickiness of the paint. And then at that, put them on shelves, protect them, put them in battle foam. That's about all you can do, is varnish them and then protect them while playing. Don't throw them around like I do sometimes. Don't drop them. Keep them high on shelves or protect them in battle foam. And again, you're dipping. If you use a dip, like the dips from not Secret Weapon, Army Painter, right? If you use the Army Painter dips, the Army Painter dips are amazing. And they're actually a very thick varnish. They will protect pretty heavily. I find that they're really good, especially then when you hit it with a varnish afterwards, as you're going to do. It's a satin or an anti-gloss. It's a double protection. So you have double layers there, and that alone will do a lot of protection for your metal miniatures. So you're definitely on the right track. And Scarcast finally says, thanks for the answers, Berry Bash. I'm definitely considering Berry Bash. It's in late February, so I'll see if I can get it off. If I can, I'll gladly sign up. My question to you, Mr. Berry Bash Scarcast, can I run Imperial Knights? I think so. I think ITC allows Imperial Knights to be played. It's the only army where you can have multiple super heavies. I'm pretty sure. Answer me in the comment section down below. Berry Bash, what has been one of the most iconic miniatures you've ever painted? Iconic. I don't know. To me, my favorite miniatures that I've ever painted, my favorite ones were my Grot tanks. Either the ones that from Forge World or the ones custom designed for me by Cody Rue. Now, to me, the most iconic, like the ones where I thought were just insanely blown away by painting them, were probably any of my Imperial Knights. Due to just the sheer size of them and the amazing look. Like, I love my Lancer here. He was a lot of fun to paint up. And the Forge World ones have such nice, more iconic character, as far as HQs go, probably Lysander. He was a really iconic miniature that I painted up. Lysander, Goskal Thraka. Things like that. Yeah, it's really hard to think about one specific one. But, yeah. Oh. Also, sorry, there's one more comment. One more comment that I'm done. Nurgle's Grin says, hey, Jay, love the facial hair, buddy. I'm rocking the same style. Excellent. Also, I hear rumors that the Nids are getting some love in January, and oh, I'm so excited. If many, many, many bugs. Excellent. I'm hoping they fix it up. Same. I pray that they fix up the Nids Codex next. Imagine Hiveguard getting that 1 point higher ballistic skill again, like they used to, and then they decided to make them equal to the Tyrant Guard. Warriors with Eternal Warrior, yeah. And Bioplasma with Armor Bane and Flesh Bane. See, the thing is, a lot of these rules are old rules. Like, Warriors had Eternal Warrior in 4th edition and in 5th edition before their new codex. Eternal Warrior used to be granted by Synapse. Synapse gave Eternal Warrior to anything in Synapse. So you'd have like Carnifexes running around with Eternal Warrior, which was amazing. And then Hiveguard used to have that +1 ballistic skill, but they took it away from them in the 6th edition codex. They had a ballistic skill 4 in the 5th edition codex. So I'm hoping. And then of course Bioplasm with Armor Bane and Flesh Bane. No complaints here. Awesome stuff. Of course, Gene Stealers 4-up armor save. and a points reduction. That's makes sense. Like, that to me is... there's just so much I wish it could be tweaked. We'll have to wait and see what they do with them. I agree. So thank you very much for your comment there. You know me, I'm a NIDS fan. I love NIDS. I'm hoping they fix the bugs. No pun intended. In NIDS. So that's it. Those are all the comments, people. That is this week's episode. But, as I should mention, so thank you to everyone out there for your questions, your comments, and I told you this will be back, and it's going to be back every other week. And, as I mentioned at the beginning of my video, this week's episode is brought to you by Wargamers Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, a really cool YouTube channel that primarily specializes in Privateer Press games, War Machine, and Hordes, but they do some terrific unboxings and a lot of really good discussions for new people getting into War Machine and Hordes. So definitely go check out their channel. Links in the description below, and I'm going to put a link right here as well. Somewhere along here will be a link. So go check out their YouTube channel, give them some love, because that's what it's about with our community, sharing the love and helping out our fellow YouTubers, and that's what it's about. So thank you, as always. Very special thank you to the Wargamers Shut Up and Jam. They are really cool guys, and so please go support them. Thank you as always. Leave new comments in the comment section down below. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.